And who chaired today's hearings. He is Senator George Maziarz. Senator, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
So this is an unusual historic event, and today is sort of like a, hey, get to know you, isn't this great, kind of thing. Where do you imagine it going from here?
Well, there are 9 Native American nations in New York State, and I think we're going to get to know each one of them a little bit better. Now, I'm from the western New York area, born and raised there. I pretty much know, the Tuscarora Nation, the Seneca Nation, but I've learned a lot, and really the purpose of the committee is to go out and to see areas where we may have some agreement, economic development, job creation areas, and go forward with those.
Yeah, there are 2 things that when you say what you've just said come up to mind for me. First of all, they've been here forever. Doesn't it seem like a little late that you're like just now? This isn't your fault. I'm just saying now we're like, oh, maybe instead of fighting with them all the time, we should sit down at the table and talk to them.
Probably better late than never. But clearly, particularly in western New York and in central New York, the issues have been fermenting for a long time. Yeah. Maybe not throughout the rest of the state, but again, we got to start sometime and somewhere, and there's a lot of concentration, a lot of media reports about gasoline, cigarette taxes, things like that. There's a whole host of other issues that the committee, in its process of leading up to today, has learned about, and we're already dealing with.
One of the things that came up today was that I think that they feel that tribes, at least the Oneida, feel a little left out when it comes to the economic development councils because they don't have representation. Yeah. Again, this is something that the executive created, not the legislature, the Senate in particular, but they feel excluded. Do you believe that the governor should reach out to them and say, okay, maybe we should, maybe it's late to do that too, I don't know.
I think that the governor maybe has reached out to them on other areas. Again, I'm most familiar with let's say, the Senecas in western New York. Clearly the governor has met with them on some of their issues.
Some big issues with them,
Right. I mean, they're not, I don't think they were intentionally excluded from the regional economic development councils. One of the things that we took away from today's hearing that I intend on talking to the Lieutenant Governor, Bob Duffy, about, who, by the way, has been extremely accommodating to the Native American nations in western New York, that maybe in the regional councils that they should reach out to them and that they should be included.
It's just every time I talk to members of the nations and then subsequently speak about their particular issues to elected officials, it seems like it's so intractable. Like they are so dug in on things like giving cigarette sales tax to the state, paying in terms of the Seneca, a portion of the money from casinos. Now we're talking about gambling being expanded all over the state, which they do not like at all, of course, unless they're included. It's just, is there a way that you're going to come to some kind of happy medium?
I think that there are different issues involving the different nations. Now, one of the meetings that I held was with, and this is before the hearing, was with the St. Regis Mohawks, and I actually went up to their reserve, in the far north country, a very long ride, by the way.
I can only imagine.
And, they have issues with the state education department about the education of Native American children and about the curriculum in the local schools.
Right.
And I know that they've been working with Senator Little on this particular issue. And it's something that they brought up today at the committee meeting. The Senecas have an issue with the Kinzu Dam in the southwest corner of the state of New York. Yeah, well, the dam is actually in Pennsylvania, but the reservoir is on Seneca land, in New York State. So I mean, there's something that I think, if the state of New York, this dam, the reservoir is in New York, the dam is just over the border in Pennsylvania, but it's actually an Ohio company that is operating the dam, that is profiting from the dam. The Senecas, these hydro projects are relicensed every 50 years by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. The Senecas have put in an application to take over the license for the next 50 years. The state of New York, it's an absolute win-win for the state of New York to enter this discussion, this licensing agreement, on behalf of the Seneca Nation.
And so are we?
Because, I'm trying to get us to.
Okay.
I'm trying to get us to.
Right.
The governor's office, I have to say, the governor's office has been extremely helpful and extremely open to discussing this. Now, when the flood came and the hurricanes and all that stuff, obviously their attention was diverted.
Sure.
But Howard Glazer and I and Senator Grisanti have met on this particular issue, and Senator Young at least 4 different times. It's a win-win because hopefully, and as the Senecas testified today, they would take a block of that hydropower, and there's no better way to create jobs than hydropower, and use it to revitalize the economy in Western New York.
Which is a good segue, actually, because speaking of energy, you are the Energy Committee
Yes.
Chairman. We have a number of energy issues on the table right now. The first, of course, is hydrofracking.
Right.
So today there's this new poll out that shows that upstaters are less convinced that it's a great idea, economically speaking, than downstaters, and then folks in the suburbs think it's great because, of course, they're not impacted at
Right.
all. Your feeling on how this is progressing? Do you believe that the public comment period should be longer because of the flood, as some people are saying, for example?
Well, you know, I thought that the original 60-day comment period was probably too short, and I know again that Senator Grisanti, the chair of the ENCON committee, came out and asked for a much longer period.
He did.
And actually, I think the governor said 60 days was enough, but the commissioner. I think they came out with a 90-day.
They did.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, you got to draw a line somewhere. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we go to 120. I really don't. I just think we have to try to. You know, there's extremes on the hydrofracking issue. You know, and I think, and I'll tell you, I want to commend Commissioner Martens. I think he's really trying to come down in the middle with a ruling that works for New Yorkers. That's going to create jobs. That's going to actually get something done. It's going to have a permitting process here.
Because one of your colleagues, Senator Ball, has raised a lot of questions about this, and he has suggested not necessarily a full-out ban, but that he wouldn't support something. And at this point, it's really out of the legislature's hands, I believe.
It is, yes.
So, but he wouldn't support something that looks like Pennsylvania, for example. I mean, I know everyone is concerned about Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania made a lot of mistakes, but I think we can learn from Pennsylvania's mistakes. I think that you know, if this is such a great resource that we can tap into, you know, let's do it in a way that's environmentally safe. Obviously, and I think that's where Commissioner Martens wants to go. I don't want to do it like Pennsylvania either. I agree with Senator Ball, because they went too fast and made a lot of mistakes. We can learn from their mistakes.
There's another project, we're talking about alternative fuels. It's called GLOW. It's
GLOW.
in your neck of the woods,
Yes.
right, out in Western New York.
Great Lakes wind.
I'm glad that you have got that down, because I certainly don't. It's a wind project. It looks like it's dead. It's a NYPA project.
Yes.
Is it in fact dead? And that's unfortunate. Aren't we supposed to be going in the forward direction, not the backward direction?
But it's actually called a Great Lakes Offshore Wind Project, GLOW. We are, and obviously, you know, having a diverse portfolio of energy generation is the ultimate goal here.
Yeah.
One of the things, you know, when you talked about earlier about hydrofracking and natural gas, is everybody's rushing now to natural gas because it's so inexpensive to generate power using natural gas, and that's kind of sort of putting all of our eggs in one basket, which is a very dangerous long-term policy.
Yeah.
We need renewables. The GLOW project was a project that was really championed by the former CEO of NYPA, Richie Kessel. You know, I think we can say, without making any stunning revelations on your show, Liz, that the governor and Mr. Kessel were sort of going in different directions.
It's a nice way to say it.
Is that all right? Okay.
That's very political. A politic of you, I should say. Yeah.
But offshore wind could be very expensive, particularly when you consider a lake, one of the Great Lakes, like Lake Ontario.
Sure.
Lake Ontario is the deepest of the Great Lakes. There's some contention about whether it's the deepest or not, but I can tell you, I live near Lake Ontario. Lived there all my life. It's a pretty deep lake. To build windmills in a lake like Lake Ontario is enormously expensive.
Yeah.
Enormously expensive. The Power Authority made a mistake when they wouldn't publicly release the request for proposals that they received in from the 5 different companies. The Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, the Buffalo News, myself, and some others, I'm sure, foiled them. They refused it. I think one of the reasons that they refused it, and by the way, this is almost a year ago now, is because of the cost involved in it. I believe, although I've never seen them, I believe that the cost of the power was just way too much for the investment. That there was not going to be a return on the investment.
So you're not mourning the project, is what you're saying necessarily?
I'm not mourning the project, but I do want the Power Authority to invest in renewables. And I've talked a lot with John Dyson, who I will tell you and your listeners I am very impressed with.
The NYPA chairman.
The new, well, he hasn't been named chairman yet, but
he is right. He is chairman in waiting, I guess would be.
Yeah, he's chairman in waiting. That's a very
because you guys have, the Senate has to approve that appointment, and the board has to approve the appointment, and then subsequently the Senate has to approve the appointment. Is that right?
No, not of the chairman, of the CEO.
Oh, okay.
See, they used to be one and the same. They're
Right.
not anymore.
Right.
So for the first time now, because of the Public Authorities Reform
right.
Law,
That's
the
right.
Senate will have to confirm the new CEO. The governor, well, basically the Board of Trustees appoints a chairman. No, I'm sorry, the governor appoints a chairman, but I think it's subject to the approval of the Board of Trustees. But they're going to approve
You
whatever the
can't do
governor
any of this if
sends
you
it.
don't come back. Are you coming back?
I don't know if we're coming back or not. I suspect we will, though.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
I think. Well, I
In
think
the fall?
I think the CSEA and the PEF contracts have to be approved by the
Well,
legislature.
you did one of them
Right.
before you left. You
Right.
haven't done PEF because they haven't approved it yet. but
Right.
Yeah.
If PEF approves, I
Right.
think we have to do
Right.
that. And the governor is going to have, again, this isn't up to me, it's more up to Senator Skells, but the governor clearly, I think, is going to, I'm sure he must have a list of confirmations that are going to be waiting, and I'm certain that there are discussions going on about that. I would think it would be very unusual if we did not come back.
Okay. And just
for
before I
something.
let you go, and unfortunately we're almost out of time, I want to ask you very quickly, 63 senators?
63 senators.
Yeah.
Does that mean my district number is changing
I'm
yet
asking
again?
you, is it possible? Is there actually discussion among your members?
Do you know what I think? It would be advisable. Actually, one of the things that I was kind of hoping for is that we would go to either 61 or 63.
So you
that
don't
we
have
get-
the 31,
So we don't have the
31 problem?
31 tie.
Right, right.
31-31 would be a problem.
Yeah,
So-
we've seen that once already.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did.
It
So-
was a problem. Indeed, it was a problem.
You remember the good old days.
Unfortunately, I do. Okay, so Senator Maziarz, unfortunately, we are out of
61,
time.
63.
But you're all right with being the 63rd senator? You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
All right. Well, the Democrats not so okay, but we'll have that discussion.
Really?
I know you're.
They don't want me as a 63rd senator?
I don't think it's you personally. We'll talk to Mike Gianaris.
Who's Mike Gianaris that doesn't want me there? He's visiting my district all the time.
Oh goodness, I'm starting a war. Senator, have a good day.
Thank you.